Hey guys, Alex here from Raptoruem Emporium, and we've got a new testing video. We just did one yesterday where we tested these 4 rigs with CPUMiner software, and today we're going to be doing the same test basically, but with XMRig. So I'm just going to kind of give you a layout here of what we have for the people that didn't watch the last video. We have our first motherboard here. This is the Asus Tough Gaming X570 Plus Wi-Fi motherboard. There are 2 more rigs with the same board, so 3 total out of 4 using the same motherboard. All 4 systems have the 5950X CPU, and all the rigs are using 2 sticks of 8 gig DDR4 RAM, but this one is 3600 megahertz RAM, whereas this one, if we move over here, this is using 2666 megahertz, just like really basic RAM, not even heat spread or anything. The other 3 systems are also using the 2666 basic RAM. This motherboard is different though. This is using an MSI Ace X570. This is a very expensive motherboard, and mainly we were doing that test because Son of a Tech had said that he thought he was getting really high hash rates because he was using a really high-end motherboard. I think using like a Tai Chi or something like that. In our video yesterday, we pretty much, in my opinion, proved that the motherboard wasn't making a difference and that these X570 tough boards were just as good, basically similar scores. So anyway, this is the high-end board. We probably don't really need that as a test anymore after yesterday, but who knows, XMRig is gonna be different, right? We'll see what happens. Over here we have the same thing, but this one, sorry, I'm brain farting all of a sudden. This one has, this is just Windows. So this is a Windows system and not using Linux. So Linux, Windows is the only difference here. And then this one over here, same thing. This is Linux with the basic RAM, the basic board, same CPU. Hopefully that all made sense. All right, so the results are in, and they are really surprising. My friend Kyle that's setting all this stuff up with me, he was a little bit surprised as well. The results are not good. That's the conclusion, but I'll go over this. So this guy averaged 4247 hashes per second. This was the old score. This is the CPUMiner score. So about 100, well, over 100 hash per second less. That's kind of a big deal. Next one, 4255. Same thing. Quite a bit less than the CPUMiner results. Wow. Wow. Even under 4,000 here on the Windows rig. This is over 200 hashes per second less with the Windows one. So XMRig does not like Windows. Even it hates Windows even more than CPUMiner, which is kind of surprising. And now we're here on the last one. Same idea. We're down quite a bit, over 100 hashes per second. So yeah, the quick answer to this test here is that XMRig is worse. More complicated answer is that maybe it's not, and maybe the problem is that there's no tune. XMRig does not have an auto tune or whatever you want to call it. CPUMiner does. CPUMiner runs an auto tune that lasts for about 2 hours, I want to say. Is that right, Kyle? 2 hours? Okay, yeah, 2 hours. And that's supposed to really optimize your CPU to perform its best while you're mining. And that doesn't exist on XMRig, at least not yet. And by the way, just to be clear, this is the newest. This is like 16.2 or is that, yeah, 16.2. This just came out like yesterday. It's the latest and greatest. And the funny thing is, if you read the fine print on their release on the software, they're saying you're going to be getting increases pretty much across the board almost. So here's our next guess between not having a tune and just using Son of a Tech's overclock settings. So he has PBO2 with, what was it, -5. He was -20, but
he was -15.
He was -15. Every CPU is different. I don't want to get into this, guys, but you can't just always do the same thing for every CPU. Our settings are basically the same. -5 though, with what, 200, what was it? What do you call that?
200 boost.
200 boost.
Override.
Oh yeah, 200 boost override. That's pretty much the same settings, okay? So we think that there's a chance Maybe if we do a really custom overclock, or we actually overclock every core individually, which is the proper way to do it, it's just very time consuming, maybe that will change our results. Maybe XMRig will come back up again, I don't know, but the results are, they don't lie. I mean, we have 4 different motherboards and all of them were clearly slower on XMRig, which sucks because XMRig is the one that's bringing all the people over to our pool. So I think hopefully, you know, we're not biased here, because we're rooting for XMRig. We are biased. We are biased for XMRig, but we also don't lie, and the results speak for themselves. This is just slower. So, well, if you work for XMRig or you know someone there and you want to ping them and try to get them to maybe tell us that we're doing something wrong, we're listening. So hopefully we'll see you in the next video. We mentioned in our last video some of the other videos we want to make, which are going to be some Intel CPU testing. Obviously Intel CPUs usually are pretty bad for Raptoruem, but we figured, hey, let's give it a shot. XMRig is supposed to be pretty good for Intel, from what we heard, or at least boosted a little better. So we're going to do some testing. We've got a bunch of high-end Xeons. We've got a 12900K, a 9900K, so we'll be showing you that stuff. We also have a Dark Hero motherboard, and that has a little bit better overclocking options than everything else on the market. It lets you use PBO2 in conjunction with some other overclocking settings. So we're gonna fiddle with that a little bit too, and bring you some. We've got a bunch of stuff planned. So if you like Raptoruem content, obviously the typical YouTube things that people say, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and we'll see you in the next video.